Cool. We're live. This is 3:23. I know it's been a while. I know me and you have been extremely busy doing stuff, yada yada, holidays, craziness, work, yada yada yada. You've been traveling. I've been dealing with stuff, so it's good to be back finally.
Yep. Missed everyone, so glad to be doing a show.
Yep. Let's see. Let's do a little housekeeping. Okay, so for me, I picked up some news. I kind of grabbed some stuff since we haven't been on in a while, so some stuff might be older, but I kind of kept it. So, Brave New World special look dropped today, right? I'm cautiously, I don't know, with all the rewrites and the reshoots. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I hope it's worth the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably have a clip in there that's going to be a segue from this topic of if this don't work. I mean, they have other options. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. What's up? I didn't even throw this other. We'll talk about this one later too. But yeah, they have other options. I'm for Mackie. I just hope it's really. I hope it's decent. You know, he's trying to do his I guess own movie. I guess you would call it theoretically with no help. You know, no Winter Soldier, none of that crap. So, hopefully it goes good for him. I do like Anthony Mackie though. I didn't put a caption on this, but this is they have breaking news that old Cap's coming back. And
yeah, I mean, it hadn't been officially confirmed yet, but it looks like they're in the final negotiations to get that deal pinned. So
he's supposed to. They're saying he's supposed to play multiple characters or multiple variants. I guess maybe. So
I mean, we've been talking about this since he left and many others left. Like life post MCU has not been what I think a lot of these actors hoped it would be. And like there's a joke for anybody who watches Ringerverse.
Mm-hmm.
They made the joke that after Red One, it might as well have had a caption that said Steve Rogers will return as Captain America, because everybody was like, that movie was horrible. It wasn't worth the time. I didn't even bother watching it.
I watched it yesterday. It wasn't as bad as I mean, we'll talk about like Kraven was terrible. I didn't watch that yet, but I heard it was terrible. I mean, The Rock plays The Rock. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but it wasn't terrible, I guess. I mean,
it's an algorithm movie, and none of those have really done super well. And I mean, at this point, I mean, we maybe we need to call a spade on The Rock and just be like, he's kind of become box office poison at this point. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's the same guy in every movie. Like,
yeah, at least he's not a leading man. Like, his movies don't do well. And
at least Batista goes out and tries to be other things, and John Cena opened up like a world of him not being a goody two shoe guy, like kind of being the vulgar kind of dude he probably really is in real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, like The Rock, Kevin Hart, Ryan Reynolds have all opted to step away from anything that is them taking chances, and it's just like what can push them as members of the brand.
Yeah. Right.
And so yeah, I mean, so again, Chris Evans has had onesie-twosies that were decent since he left the MCU, but generally speaking, for every hit that he's had probably 3 misses.
Mm-hmm.
So
people come back, man. People come back.
Yeah.
You posted this. Tell me about this.
All right. So Nova series is basically confirmed to be in the works. They have their showrunner. Blanking on what else he's done. Hold on, give me a second. I'll get back to the article. But yeah, he is.
What has he done? No one knows. Criminal Minds, Crossing Lines, Third Watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a proven entity as far as NBC and CBS shows are concerned. Mm-hmm. He replaced Sabir I'm gonna butcher his last name, Prezada, from Moon Knight as the scribe. So, I mean, we've been trying to figure out for years now because they've been talk of Nova having his day in the sun in the MCU and the whole cosmic thing needing to be fleshed out more.
Mm-hmm.
It's Richard Rider, so anybody who's got 70s Novas, sell them while you can.
Yeah. See.
But yeah,
I'm super. No, I'm just super excited about this one too. With Lantern and like I've been watching Creature Commando. We haven't really talked about that. I watched Creature Commando. I thought that was okay, but we can talk about that when we get to Superman and stuff. But Nova, yeah, I'm optimistic on Nova. I know people remember Nova. Nova ones were like they're always going to be in the next movie, yada yada yada. So I'm kind of it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the ability to make money off of modern MCU anymore, but as far as entertainment, I think there's more hope in things that are not heavily tied to this main, saga.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, again, Werewolf by Night was decent.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say it was arguably pretty damn good.
What if is great for an animated show too? I mean,
yeah, What If solid. I think Wonder Man has potential to be solid. Agatha was able to stick the landing for a character that none of us really gave a shit about. And the second they announced that, we were like, "Why are you doing a standalone Agatha film?" Nobody's ever been an Agatha fan.
Nobody was asking for it either. Like, oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever. So.
Yeah, but I think they have found what little success they've had in this saga has been not trying to tie into the greater, saga continuity and just doing these one-off stories that allow you to just kind of have fun and tell a story that somebody might be interested in. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's hope for, at least the initial Nova stuff, and then as they tie it back to and make it convoluted with the continuity that exists, and it'll go to shit. But at least initially, I think it'll be probably pretty solid. And the only thing I really have to tie to is maybe a little bit of Captain Marvel and Thanos back to the the fallout that led to the creation of the the fall of Nova Prime.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I didn't talk about this. I don't know if I talked about it on other shows. Just a quick blurb. So the Oz Ruby slipper sold for $32,500,000, which is insane. Hopefully it goes. I don't know if I guess it's a private collector. I would assume maybe. I just hope it goes on the public display somewhere. That's what I really hope for. Not locked away in a safe somewhere. But
I mean, at that price, probably somebody's private collection and will never be seen again, except for somebody works out a deal to put them on display, temporarily.
Yeah.
The thing that comes to mind with this, and I guess we'll mention it later in the show. So having seen at least 2 exhibits in the last month that were, one being personal collection of a creator of stuff that he created and held on to from the movies that he did, and then from Warner Brothers doing an exhibit where it's the stuff they put up the vault. And I don't understand how. I mean, I get back in those days, like you probably wouldn't have cared to hold on to this shit, but I don't understand how stuff like this still manages to find its way into the public space where somebody can sell it on the private market. Like this thing makes sense. It was what the 30s or 40s when the Wizard of Oz came out, so nobody was worried about trying to get the shoes once Judy Garland went home for the day on the final shoot.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff that pops up and you see for sale on Heritage Auction. I'm like, who sold that? Longclaw from Game of Thrones sold in the last 6 months. It's like, who walked away with Hero 1 of Longclaw? Like, it's one thing to steal one of the 15 versions of Lucille from Walking Dead. I had a buddy who managed to walk away with one of those. But something as notable as the hero primary version of some of these costume pieces, I just don't see you getting away with that in modern day, in modern times at least.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just like you said. It's like when I mean, I guess if Deadpool can walk away with his costume, right? Now, I think that's probably in his contract. I know it probably was, or he's like, I did it, I play, But at the end of the day, it's like you said, I don't know, man. It is mind blowing what people just like take for granted, I guess, or like didn't think about, and like, oh, I don't really care at the end of the day, like it's I don't know. For 32 million though, I mean, I don't know what it's going to be interesting when they like. I wonder what the appreciation value is, and do they keep it in their collection forever? I mean, obviously, it's probably going to get passed down to people, but at some point, it's going to go back on the market. I wonder what it really goes at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like quite a bit of the stuff from this movie is in people's private collection, or has been in people's private collections for years. Because you had Ariana Grande being able to get, to be able to play around with Glinda's wand from the original movie. They were able to connect with the people who has that in their private collection for her to, have access to it for a little bit, because she damn sure didn't get to keep that. And I mean, yeah, like Wizard of Oz has that strong enough following that I think like people have been acquiring these things on the black market. Somebody walked out of walked off a job site, even in later history for the stuff that didn't go missing immediately after the film ended. I think there was stuff that probably was in the vault and was, under some form of security and just kind of started to go missing over time. So,
well, I think it's funny. This one, you heard about how they got it right. It was like in some cave or something. Like it just somebody threw it in a cave and was like they just sat there for years and.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Oh yeah, so what the legend is that, and I guess that's why it's so iconic now. They were stolen, and then they were found. The last known pair. Blah, 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 what's it in history? 2011. So yeah, they offered it. Somebody found it, but it was like found in like a cave or something, or like like it was just like found, like somebody just probably had it, didn't know what they had, and just threw it. They're like their shoes. They don't, cares. So yeah, it's just interesting how that all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you would never assume these are original. Like, I mean, how many different costume pieces of these have?
There's only 5 over time. Yeah, there's only 5 known.
Yeah, you would never think, like, coming across them like this, you would just by default assume that they were
fake.
Yep, they were fakes.
Yeah, you're like, oh, who really cares? Yeah. So there's only 5. Several pairs made the film, though the exact 5 pair are known to survive. 1 pair was stolen from the museum in 2005, and in 2018 they were found. So yeah, it was. I guess it was a mismatched pair too, so that was kind of interesting. But like a 5B and a 5C or something. But yeah, so crazy. I mean, I know original pairs at the Smithsonian and stuff, but still, it's just wild that. Like it's like finding an Action 1 in a wall or something, or like an Action 1 in a comic book collection that's a real Action 1. You're like 99.9% of the time that's not.
Yeah, that's fake, because there's no way in hell that anybody would have not realized what they had right there.
Yeah. I guess we can. We'll talk about this. So I didn't put the next post in there, but so Superman's coming out July 11th. The teaser trailer is coming Thursday, so I'm kind of pumped to see this actually.
I mean. Yeah, I mean, this is the first piece of new live action in the new DCU. So, this is going to set the tone of everything, because Creature Commandos is technically the first thing,
right?
But that's a soft launch. It is, James Gunn doing what James Gunn has always done. Mm-hmm. It's basically, it's Kobe on the court shooting free throws, doing practice shots. Like that don't count. Like you can do Found Family in your fucking sleep. Like that's not that big of a deal. Like him actually pulling this off will dictate the entire tone of his cinematic universe. So
did you watch Creature Commandos? Did you like Creature Commandos?
I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's definitely very much so Suicide Squad, and it's that. I mean, hell, it's got characters, 1 or 2 characters repeating from Suicide Squad. It definitely confirms, all that stuff that had been said, that Peacemaker is canon. Suicide Squad is canon. The only part of Peacemaker that's not canon is that end sequence where you see the Justice League show up.
Mm-hmm.
That no longer is part of continuity, but everything else is, because it references the death of Rick Flag Jr.
Mm-hmm.
It references the events of the previous movie with Weasel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it so far. It's definitely, I wish I had more of them to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not a good litmus test of the reality that will be his cinematic universe, because again, it's just him doing what he's done successfully for the last, almost 10 years.
It reminds me of Scooby-Doo episodes, I guess, in a way, kind of. I didn't put this on the thing, but we can talk about it. Did you watch Kraven? Did you go see Kraven?
I have not seen Kraven yet.
Are you one of the 11 million people that no? So Kraven came out with a 11 million box office opening, which is the lowest ever for Sony. I guess they put / Marvel. So the budget was like, I don't even know, like what was it, like 110 million, 100 million or something like that. So
yeah,
I think
substantial budget.
Yeah, and I think it's at was that 40 million worldwide or something like that. But still, it's pretty low. Obviously, it's not. Yeah.
Well, they also said they officially came out. They're calling it quits on the Sony live action universe. Like that is dead now. So
no. Do you think it's like, why do you think it really suffered? Do you think it was just people not knowing about it? Kraven being, I would say, an obscure character.
No, I mean, it's truly the fact that like they can't use, or they're not using Spider-Man in any of the shit, and it doesn't actually tie to MCU or their own alternate universe of Spider-Man related content.
Mm-hmm.
The closest we got to Spider-Man ish is with the Vulture making an appearance in Morbius, but.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Adam's online. So actually, it went Morbius, Madam Web, Kraven. I mean, it went on a steep decline, but that's like Morbius made money, made more money. Madam Web made less money than Morbius, and then Kraven's.
Well, I mean, also we got to include Venom in that. Like Venom, generally speaking, was successful. The last film was definitely softer, but like all three of those movies made money.
Yeah.
Because again, it was more closely. So actually, I'd say that like. That's the one that actually has probably its closest ties to Spider-Man with Venom. Sure. And also the hope that was going to have some tie to the greater MCU, which they started to head down that path and then quickly like pivoted away from that for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's just,
yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those things where without Spider-Man, like it's just, they can't, unlike what Warner Brothers did with the Penguin and being able to do an entire miniseries without including the main titular character of the Batman universe in there, and the only connection you have is a in-show stinger of the Bat Signal, and like some movie references from the very first episode. That character and that writing was able to stand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
None of this, I mean, and these characters could stand on their own, but the writing never ever was good enough to make you care enough about these without Spider-Man. So
do you think they have a strong enough villain in the Sony verse where they could do a Joker-esque, Penguin-esque movie, I guess, besides Venom? Where it stands alone on itself, and you don't need the main protagonist, aka Batman or Spider-Man, to like.
I mean, I think we'll see what happens with this whole Null thing that they've got, planned. But I think if done properly, all of these characters, in theory, could have stood on their own. Like, I mean, definitely doing a standalone. They never got to it, but doing a standalone Green Goblin related, content or mythos could have worked. Delving more into the lunacy aspects of the Goblin, serum. You could have done some type of like street level drama stuff with the Rhino and his whole like transition from being Russian mafia enforcer fall guy to being like, this bruiser character, and or he's been that character for a while, because I think they did that in the comics. Again, I wasn't reading Rhino standalone stuff, but when they had him kind of connected to Deadpool for a little bit there, they were kind of leaning more into Alexi's like backstory and what his life was like, trying to clean his act up and things like that. Like, you could do stories like that, but Sony fell into the same trap that I think DC did with the Snyderverse, is that they tried to microwave their way to success. Yeah. They didn't want to play the long game. Sony doesn't have an outlet for television. I mean, they're shoving stuff on Amazon. They'll shove stuff on. They got rid of Crackle ages ago. But yeah, they don't have an outlet for trying to slow burn anything. So they can't build a world. They're like, oh, we need to make money now. Let's make a movie. And yeah, it's just, they don't have the writers and the people who want to tell those stories.
Yeah. Interesting. I know it's dead for now, but in 10 years they'll probably come back and like, we need to make another movie, and like they get amnesia about it.
I mean, if they just decide to play nice with, if they can either figure out how to do their own Spider-Man thing, or either if they finally come to a deal that makes sense and plays nice with what Marvel's doing, I think it can be done. But also, I mean, they have 2 other Spider-Men that they could have cashed in on, that could have worked if they hadn't have tried to have their long game be a connection to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. If they had just gone Andrew Garfield, because generally speaking, Andrew Garfield was a generally well-liked Spider-Man. I mean, Toby's getting a little long in the tooth, so bringing him back, might not have been easy, but they could have, tried to bring back Andrew Garfield sooner and done a whole alternate world where this is a continuation of Andrew Garfield's, Spider-Man universe. But no, they just were like, no, we'll just do this without Spider-Man. And it's like, that's not the answer to what they had in mind. So
interesting. So what I did for your little trip, I made your own folder, so I could do this. I can open this up over here.
I mean, you can throw whatever up from that trip. We don't have to go through.
I just kind of did them all. So I guess you can explain where you went and all the pictures you took.
All right, cool. So I was basically from the evening of Thanksgiving until December the 8th, I think, whatever that Sunday was. I was in London and Manchester bouncing around. And so I managed to, while I was there, to hit the Tim Burton experience, which there was an exhibit showing a bunch of Tim Burton's work throughout his career, kind of ending around the time period of, as far as movies are concerned, ending around, what was it? The Wonka movie, not the Wonka movie, because he didn't do Wonka. He did Charlie and Chocolate Factory. So it ends roughly around Charlie and Chocolate Factory, and starts with like his early works and stuff, goes through his time as a junior animator at Disney, shows his rejection of things that he tried to have made while he was at Disney, his first big success with Pee-wee's Big Adventure, or actually I think he did something animated before that, or stop motion before that. Then he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, leading into Beetlejuice, Batman, and so on and so forth. And so it kind of has pieces all throughout that. There's images from that. And then what you see on the screen right now is I went to the Batman Unmasked exhibit, which I think started out in Los Angeles and then got shipped over to London in the summer, I believe. Yeah, it got shipped over in the summer. And it ends in, I want to say, early January. But it's got basically stuff from the Warner vault that they shipped over there. So starting with Batman 89 and going all the way until the Batman, it's got everything from all of the Hero One. So for anybody who's not familiar, the concept of the Hero One stuff is whether it be vehicles or costumes, it is the stuff that is worn by the main actors and is the most like picturesque version of their costumes, their vehicles, whatever it may be. It's the stuff that's going to have everything. It's going to be as close to photo accurate. It's going to be the most photo accurate of any of the pieces from a costume perspective. And then you have stunt level stuff where it's meant to be functional. It's meant to look right from a distance while it's moving, but it's not quite, movie accurate. So
no,
yeah,
I will say these aren't in the greatest of order, but I mean, it gives you a kind of look.
yeah. So I mean, everything from the cows to full costume, utility belts. You got the gauntlet right there from the most recent Batman movie. There's gauntlets in there for I think every one of the movies. Everything from so you got Keaton's cow. You have I think that's George Clooney's, I believe. And then I think that or either it was Val Kilmer and George Clooney.
Yeah, I think that's Kilmer. I think that's Clooney.
Yeah, Kilmer, Clooney, and then that's I want to say one of Bale's. That's Bale's first one. That's Bale's second one, and then that's the one from Dawn of Justice, and then that's Batfleck's one from the movie in Justice League.
Yeah, this is cool stuff. It's interesting.
Lego Batman is a joke. They had
that's funny.
Well.
That's hilarious. But yeah, so grapple guns, all this stuff.
Grapple guns, batarangs, stuff from the Batman Forever, or actually Batman and Robin. So the Freeze stuff. So this is Affleck stuff. So because you see his batarang right there. So this is pretty cool. They had transition rooms to kind of like slow you down a little bit so everybody was on top of each other. And the whole thing with this is that they had audio playing that I want to say was dialogue from a couple different Joker related comics, including stuff from The Killing Joke. And so the room was completely white because all this stuff is black light activated. So when the room was under regular light, the room was white. There's a single bed in there, and on the nightstand of the bed is that. It's a playing card that says, "Will the real Batman please stand up?" On the bed are a bunch of white cards that you don't realize are blank until they are shown under black light, and then they become. You see that Joker insignia is on all of them. On the walls, it says "Why so serious?" and all it takes for a man to turn evil is one bad day and stuff like that. So it's really cool for anybody who's a Batman fan, a fan of the Batman films and mythos. So,
did they have comics out at all or anything like that, or just comic stuff?
It was pretty much just props and things. At the very end, of course, they had their little shops that had some comics for grabs and things that you could buy, but it was all like newer stuff for the most part. But everything else was like props related Batman stuff.
Interesting.
So again, everything here is movie used props. So everything from the Riddler's modified bat bombs, his cane, Harley's mallet, the mask from the most recent Joker movies, the mask from Heath Ledger's character, the one he wears in that opening sequence. These little like costume jewelry that was from Batman and Robin.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then of course, they had Ivy's outfit, they had Freeze's outfit, they had Riddler's outfit. Freeze Ray.
That's sick. I wonder how heavy that thing is.
I remember them saying back when the movie was being made that the entire suit and rig together weighed 120 pounds.
Jesus.
So realistically, to comfortably walk around in that shit, it was gonna be Schwarzenegger as far as Hollywood actors are concerned.
Yeah. This is cool stuff. This is just they had some of this at the Marvel exhibit when I did that. Like they had Black Panther stuff and all that stuff, so it was cool to see. So
yeah.
But yeah, Heist Mask, it's cool stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Nurse Joker. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see all that stuff in one place. Crane's mask, Ducard / Raish's mask, the Hero One of the vehicles. So that was like the final piece of the exhibit before you exited, was to be able to see that in its full, in its full regalia. And so that's really cool. Again, if you're a fan of Batman mythos, of Batman movies and stuff, this was definitely a cool exhibit to be able to walk through and see all this stuff, because most of the stuff's under lock and key. And I've done the Warner Brothers tour multiple times, and you don't get to see shit like that on the Warner Brothers tour. Yeah. All right, so now this is the stuff from the Tim Burton exhibit. So these are all like drawings and sketches that Tim Burton did kind of as pre-planning pieces for both Batman and Batman Returns. So all of this stuff is like artwork drawn by Tim Burton. So
interesting. Wow.
Yep. So all of his ideas for, like, he actually, he designed the idea for the Catwoman costume, like, early sketches that he did of that and things like that. So
interesting.
And then of course they had Michelle Pfeiffer's costume there as well in the Tim Burton experience. So both of those were in London and 2 different locations. One was at the Design Museum. So the Tim Burton exhibit was at the Design Museum, and they were also doing Barbie there as well. We just didn't go see the Barbie stuff. But yeah, they had a bunch of Barbies throughout history, and then they also had stuff from the Barbie movie as well there. So
what was it cost? Was it free, or did you have to pay?
I want to say the Batman was something around like 20 or 30 pounds. So take whatever that number I just said,
$40, $50, something like that.
Add 30% to it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't terrible. It was definitely worth the time. A great way to eat up an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool. Awesome. I want to go see that. That's kind of cool. Hopefully I wonder if they're going to bring that stateside. That'd be kind of cool.
I think they'll bring it back. That's why they're saying that it's going to end. I just don't know if they're going to bring it back to set it up again, or if it's going back in the vault and then they're going to pull off the stuff for the Batman so they can start filming the sequel. So
Interesting. I'm just looking. Interesting. It was in LA, all this other stuff. So
yeah, it was in LA initially.
So let me get rid of that. So on the market report. So this is what we got. Things I just kind of saw. Amazing Spider-Man 328.98 signed by McFarlane and Stan Lee went for $30,050. So I mean, if you're Stan Lee, I don't know. I mean, 98 signed there, but I thought that was a pretty hefty price. I mean, Stan's 500, roughly $1,000 you'd call it, and Todd's $250 or something.
I mean, Todd can range anywhere from on a 98 of the right book is usually at least you're at least a $300 book, and then whatever how much rarer the book is on top of that. But it's funny because I've got a stack of stuff over here that I started putting together before CGC started doing the post verification stuff for the next McFarlane signing, whenever that comes. And honestly, I'm starting to think now, it's like, well, how much value is there really in? Because I mean, McFarlane has signed a lot of shit throughout the years, like a lot of shit. And he'll, there are plenty of people every single year when he's at San Diego, you just can't, bring a witness over there to wherever he's signing, which is usually the McFarlane specific booth. But now that all that stuff is out there, I do want to kind of hop on, and I haven't done the research to see if GPA has done a differentiation between witness signatures versus post verified signatures, to just see the value difference, and if there even is any at this point. Because honestly, that might have just like kind of poked holes in the whole marketing opportunity or the sales opportunity it is to send things off to the McFarlane signings to have them CDC witness. Because if you can just catch him for free at a random con, and then walk your ass over to the CGC booth and submit them. I mean, is it really worth bothering with the CGC event?
Yeah, McFarlane's the Hogan of the era, right? He just signs a bunch of stuff, and you're like, it's not rare anymore, honestly. So
I mean, it still sells though, but I mean,
yeah,
it was the fact that like there was a certain gatekeeper in this happening with the witness signatures. You had to go through CDC to get them.
yeah.
Now that isn't necessarily the case, it's like I feel like, I mean, he pops up. I mean, when he's got something to hawk, he pops up quite a bit and signs a bunch of shit in those scenarios. So it's like, well, is it worth it to continue to bother spending what was it? I mean, $90 for his signature or for the whole CGC witness process. So I wonder how that's going to impact things long term.
Interesting. The book I always look for, a little 5.5 solid mid-grade copy of 242, only for $28.52. So not saying that's a gigantic deal, but I mean, it's a great copy for less than $3,000. So
yeah.
Cool book I seen. Just a pedigree book. I really don't see too many pedigrees. I mean, but it's just a Twin Cities. It's not just like something really, really, really rare. $940 for a Neil Adams Shadow Last Adventure Comics 365 and a 9.6. So under $1,000. So that's interesting. We saw this before. I know Z, when Z was on, we talked about this. Arrow 1, scarce, Gerber 8. 1.5 sold for $635. So it seems kind of low to me, but I know it's only a 1.5 and I know it's CBCS, but a lot of these books, I was talking with Carter on his show, and it's just values are down right now. I think Christmas and all this stuff, like people, I'm trying to hawk books, and people are like, well, Heritage just had an auction and it went for a third of the value. It's like, well, I mean, that's a risk you take doing before Christmas auctions, So,
yeah, sure.
Amazing Spider-Man. I just saw this 601 with a custom label, but $500, man, for still going strong for a 9.8, man. So
yeah, I feel like that's a book that for the most part has held that price for years. So yeah.
So if you find one laying around, you got one, it might be time.
Yeah.
You might know this more about me. I don't know. I'm not a foil guy or ashcan guy, but SDCC 1 in 500 Batman, Absolute Batman 1 sold for $750. I mean, I don't know if that's a deal or not.
These were ghosty. I mean, if you didn't make it over, I want to say these were coming out of the and I don't think there was a limit, honestly, on them. So you could have bought as many as you wanted from the DC booth, because I want to say this was the DC booth exclusive.
Okay.
But they were gone pretty much instantaneous. Like I went over to that booth pretty early on, and all of them were gone. So I don't think people realized that Absolute Batman was going to turn into the. I mean, it was strong at that point during the summer, but I don't think people realized it was going to turn into the juggernaut that it kind of did. So yeah.
I mean, I just thought SDCC was, I wouldn't say long ago, but usually these con variants, unless they're like super, like scarcely printed, I guess it would be like $400, $300, yada yada. But still going strong. So I think somebody brought this up. Pepe the Frog rare, so still $500 for Boys Club #1. So just not saying you're gonna find this in a box somewhere, but if you see one on a wall for like $100 or something, go in and snag that boy.
Yeah.
Lobo 1 9.4. So Semper Fi had a bunch of comics. The rest of these are like Semper Fi. He unloaded a shit ton of comics this weekend. This massive bangers. I didn't put them all on the list. I mean, it was so many. This one for $1,607. So cool. I think it's great that it's still holding its own value. So
yeah, I mean, I guess we're basically done for the season. So if you're trying to generate a bunch of revenue in the final weeks, or trying to make the business profitable for tax purposes,
I think that's what he did. He unloaded a bunch of stuff. So like this one. Mystery Adventures 13 LB Cole cover, 4.0. Iconic skull cover, $1,400 there. I mean, it's $3,000 in 2 books. He sold a Phantom 6.0 for almost $2,700. So classic Matt Baker cover. So very cool cover. I'm kind of jealous of this one. I wish I had the funds. I would have tried to snipe that one. Price Comics 4. I just liked it because of the classic robot cover. It's restored, but $663 or $666. So Blizzard had I thought this was interesting. Police Comics 26. It's not like number 1 or something. I was gonna look and see why this is so valuable, I guess. Police Comics.
I mean, how early of a Plastic Man appearance is this?
Not very early. I mean, it's only 25 episodes. I mean, 25 issues before this. So I wonder if there was a first appearance or something. That's why it's so. Let me look. Issue date. I don't see first appearance. Appearing Plastic Man support. Yeah, I don't see anybody. I just don't know why it was so much money. I guess maybe the quality. It's VF plus.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody's just banking on it grading out. So
yeah, $1,300. I was like, man, that's pretty steep. Punisher photo variant, just John Bernthal on Netflix TV variant, 98 sold for $350. You know, people are still buying Punisher stuff. Never gonna fail. So
yeah.
Cool Punch Comics 20. I know 12 gets its old heyday, but it's a Canadian edition. $731. So cool cover. I love it. We talked about this one on Carter Show. Writes in Secrets of Haunted House 5, a 9.0, $600. Tough book. So you hardly ever see these come up. And when they do, they're $300, $400, $500, $1,000, $2,000 or $2,000. Yeah. So I thought this was interesting. $6 Million Man, number 9. The only one at 9.8, and somebody spent $560 on it.
Somebody might be trying to complete a run in 9.8. Is what that feels like.
Yeah, and I just thought it was. I just was like, oh, that's an interesting pull right there. So I'm sure Ice Collectibles is laughing all the way to the bank on that one.
Yeah.
I saw this one. This was cool too. John Marin Superman custom bound head or hardcover signed by George Perez with sketch, $280. So cool Superman with Perez and everything, right? I mean,
yeah, not very much.
Yeah, and then obviously he's got more signatures and all that other stuff. So yeah, interesting. Cool. One of the cooler comics, Tech 73. To get into this book, I mean, yeah, it's a 0.5, blah 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 blah, but $1,125 to get into this book. You know, Golden Age Scarecrow cover. I love that. Tales of Suspense 9.0, number 7, Lava Man, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. Only $700 for a 9.0. So, I mean, it's not like a first appearance of anything crazy. I mean, Lava Man's in it, but just 9.0 for $700 seems like a deal, you know. In my opinion, for like so. I mean, if it was like a Spider-Man book, it wouldn't be $700. I think, you know.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. So just a regular like issue, not even like a key issue, obviously. Cool Golden Age horror for me. Thing 12. Steve Ditko's first cover, $1,825. So sick. So everyone out there trying to find cool covers, this is another cool cover. Vault of Horror 23, signed by Bill Gaines, $856. I mean, signed by Bill Gaines is dope in itself, so I don't have one of those yet. So that'll be on the old list. I thought this was interesting. So Wolverine 154, signed by Hugh Jackman and Liefeld and Stan Lee, but it's a PGX. And it went for $600. So
I feel like that's one of those ones where you definitely crack that bitch open and send it to CGC and have it like
JSA crossover.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it honestly, it doesn't even care about the grade at the point. I mean, you could, just having the Jackman and Stan Lee, you could probably sell for $1,000. You know.
Oh, I mean, we just saw a McFarlane and Stan Lee, 9.8 go for over $3,000.
Yeah.
I definitely think you'll make your money back.
Yeah.
Needs to say.
Web of Mystery, number 2, 5.5, $208. Yeah, not the greatest cover, but pre-code for $208. It's okay. And then last but not least, in our little thing is Wonder Woman 9.8, number 205, 1973 origin of Nubia, $911. So, I mean, I know Wonder Woman seems like out of decline, but still, I think it's decent. So, I'm excited for this. This is pickups time. I know you said you had a ton of pickups.
Yeah, I got a decent bit. So here we'll start with what We'll start with this guy. You've seen it before, but it finally got it graded. Dropped it off at SCCC to be graded and came back. Let me turn off the stupid blur. Let's see, camera settings, virtual background. No, there you go. So finally came back, 60, graded.
Nice.
At this point, I was like, I just need to get it graded because it's only going to take slightly more damage every day that it's not in this like damn near bulletproof archival case.
Yeah.
Took their sweet time on getting this graded because I mean this thing was handed off at San Diego Comic-Con and it came back the day after Thanksgiving. So
is that your first AFA thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. First time I ever shipped to them. Which is funny because they're right up the road too. Like they're a half-hour drive away from me.
You keeping it or are you gonna flip it?
I'm definitely selling that.
Okay. I don't know. Just asking.
No, I just don't care enough about Vader per se. I mean, I like Star Wars in reason. All right, so did some buying while I was in the UK, and normally that's a terrible idea because the exchange rate. But I managed to find a shop who was willing to play ball, or actually two shops who were willing to play ball. One of which is closing after 25 years of being in business, so they were really keen on making some deals happen. So first things first, we got little Dynamic Forces Black Widow.
Nice.
I got a couple Young Avengers #1s.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all this stuff was very reasonably priced, some more than others. Little Kira 1 action.
Yep.
Couple pence copies of Conan 24. So 6 pence. Same place had a Conan 1.
Oh, nice.
That honestly, I think have a fighting chance at least, I'd say probably 6.5, 7.0, maybe higher.
Nice.
So this one was crazy. So Pence copy of DC Comic Presents 26. That honestly, other than it kills me, but there's a little bit of surface rust on the bottom staple. But this guy honestly had a fighting chance at a 9.6, maybe even a 9.8 on a good day.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens when this one. I'm definitely gonna send off. But yeah, I mean, it was super clean, and luckily they were willing to play ball on it. They had another copy; it wasn't nearly as clean, and they wanted just way too much more for the condition. Little Detective 871. Couple West Coast Avengers versus White Vision.
Did you get those pretty cheaply?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So First Squadron Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
More Pence. First Vindicator.
Nice.
We have First Appearance of Apocalypse. Again, very reasonably priced. First Archangel.
Mm-hmm.
We got Sandman 1. And a 10.
Nice.
First Beta Ray Bill. And then for the rarest thing out of the bunch, THB #1 with the poster still in it. So,
give me the backstory on this because I don't know about this.
So THB is, I want to say, Paul Pope. It's like one of those like quintessential indie comics of the 90s. Like I think we're in single digits of these graded on the CGC census.
Oh,
like they just don't pop up. But yeah, it's like very much so just a quintessential West Coast comic from the indie scene back in '94. Self-published. Like it's just very much so like what was happening in that scene in the West Coast, and just kind of like indicative of that indie comic book scene of the that self printed, because we had our whole phase of the Crumbs and people like that who were doing their thing, and this is definitely getting more in line with what independent comics were going to become. I feel like, and kind of set this between the art and Paul Pope has gone on to do other things. Like I think Batman 100 was him, like from an art perspective, art and writing perspective. He's done other stuff with DC as well. But this was his baby, and he's gone back to it once or twice where he's done like he did THB Stories from Mars in like 2000 as a San Diego and I think an NYCC exclusive. But this was just like this weird story about this girl and her anthropomorphic sentient tricycle. And it's just like a weird comic that is feels like in the vein of what kids were all about at that time. The Beavis and Butthead, Daria, like that type of like vibe. Very, very, very kind of like punk alternative West Coasty comic book stuff that was happening. But yeah, it's just a cool, hard to find, super hard to find in any type of worthwhile condition. Usually the poster is going to be missing out of it, but the poster is a young lady, a West Coast model who is dressed up like the main character from the comic. And then they use that art for, I think, a reprint of a future version of THB. So if you want to see what that poster looked like, you just need to go search for, let's see if I can find it real fast. THB 1. Where's it at? It looks like it's the reprint. Yeah, it's 1A. So basically, later in the year, they did a reprint of 1, and it has the girl on it who was. Let's see, let me drop the image somewhere. Yeah, agree.
I'm looking forward to.
I got it. So dropping it to you in the private chat now.
Okay.
So that is the image.
I got you. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so inside of it is a taped in poster that is that artwork of her minus the THB and the trade dress. And usually that gets separated, but yeah, it's very much so like, iconic West Coast kind of indie comic scene that was happening at that time. So it was cool to stumble across one in the UK and completed that, because I've never come across a first printing of one before. I've seen everything under the sun from I've seen that guy. I've seen, let's see what else on here. So yeah, I've seen 1, I've seen 2, and I've had the 2007 copy and both 2007 copies of the THB Comics from Mars. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just a little piece of independent comic book history. Yeah. And then the last 2 things.
Yeah.
We have Iron Fist Sabretooth action.
Nice.
And I want to say this is actually a Pence copy. So it's actually US copy, but because they were selling it in the UK, it has a ever so faint stamp on it for 7.5 pence. So if you look really hard right here, you can see there is there's a stamp for 7.5 pence, but it is still the US copy of the first appearance of Jon Stewart.
And you got a 7.5 on it. So
yep. So that was everything that I grabbed while I was over there.
So in my little obscurity last night, I had a coupon for $45 on eBay. So what I did was, there's this book that came out. So Detective Dan is like the first ever comic book with real content in it. So this is interesting for people. I didn't know about this. So Detective Dan, as I scroll through, it sells for $4,000, right? So I didn't buy this obviously, but sells for $4,000. It's the first two comic books back in the day prior to this had like reprints of other stories and stuff like that. Very Dick Tracy vibe. So I was like, if that went for $4,000, I went and bought a newspaper of the first promo comic strip, right? So this is a promo comic of that comic coming out.
Nice.
For $30. I don't know. I mean, I think me, you, and everybody were talking about it. Like, I don't know if CGC would grade this because it's probably newspaper size, right? I would assume.
Yeah,
it looks very big, right? So I don't know what to do with this. I mean, I'll probably throw it in like I'll buy like an OA cover, and just slide it in there so it stays, flat and protected, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this basically feels like something you should probably have framed.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for $30, it's a gamble, right? I mean,
no, I mean it's a piece of comic book history, so it's definitely worth having.
I mean, for 1935, I mean, how many people have one of those laying around? I don't know. Maybe. I just kind of just did like if I saw this for $4,000, I mean, for $30, I mean, I don't know. There's only been like 3 or 4 of these for sale too, so like ever. And this was like something that somebody brought out in like the mid '90s that somebody hunted it down and figured out this was the true first true comic book back in the day. So just interesting things like that. So I'll get that soon. So we'll see. I actually bought some stuff too. Nothing crazy. Then a Macari posting. The guy was on Instagram. So little Atomic Comics from Matt Baker. So it's got like a little mouse chew on it, but that's not too bad. I've had this book in the past. I think it was like a 2.5. I don't think it was a 4.0, but Little Crimes by Women.
Very nice.
So this is one of the covers that actually a woman's not doing crime. She's getting thrown out of the actual vehicle. So yeah, this is 54. So yeah. So I gotta get this one graded and see what this is gonna grade out to. I got a couple other books that get graded. CGC's taking their sweet ass time grading books now. So it's a 45-day wait time on Golden Age. So
speaking of waiting on people to do their fucking job, I have some not original art, but alternative movie posters. So Mondo stuff from, years back and other posters in that same vein that I ordered because my partner, she's been pressuring me to actually decorate both this office and the house in general. And so I found the stuff that I'm interested in. But still waiting on Heritage to actually ship the shit out. Like I won. The auction was the week, like legitimately was the week before Thanksgiving, was on that Wednesday. And I mean, we're at almost
a month.
Yeah, we're at basically almost a month now since I ordered that shit, and they still haven't shipped yet. And I'm just like, and it's so frustrating because you call Heritage and like they had that invoice in my inbox within like the next morning, or actually no, that same night. So like I had them invoice the same night, but they have 14 to 21 days to ship out your shit. And then they make all the excuse in the world when you call them on the phone, being like, "Oh well, it typically does take 5 days for us to process payment." And I was like, "Okay, and you process payment? Like, what's the excuse for the other 2.5 weeks?" Well, the holiday was in there. I was like, "Were you guys closed for the week?" They were like, "Well, no." I was like, "Were you closed for Thanksgiving and the day after?" Just Thanksgiving. Again, what's the excuse? So I don't know, it's just real frustrating because like you didn't hesitate to take my money. Like I'm gonna need for you to send me my product.
Yeah, interesting. Are you? And then the problem is like theoretically, if you were gonna do like the Michaels thing or something, right? Michaels usually does like crazy deals during Christmas, right? To like get like usually frames are like 85% off or some shit. So you're like, So
I mean, I'll probably honestly for at least a handful of these, I will hit up. We have a really good custom framer in the area, and so. And I just wasn't super pleased with the frame job that came out of something that I had done at Michael's.
Okay.
So I will probably go to the custom framer. It's going to cost me a little bit more, but the quality was just exponentially better on the frame job, the pressing to get the piece to lay flat. Because the first time I used them, it was our first trip to Japan. We ordered or we bought there was a guy who was still doing traditional wood block press printing of classic like Japanese artwork, and so we had to do an ever so slight like roll/fold on one of them to get it into packaging so we could ship it back. And you cannot tell at all to look at the artwork that there was ever a crease in it whatsoever. Whereas the piece that I handed over to Michael's, they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll absolutely be able to steam that out." And it is plain as day, the crease is still in it. To the point where I'm like, I kind of want to like pop this out and send it to somebody who does pressing to like get it to lay flat, because it just has a noticeable crease right through the center of this antique map that we bought, and I'm just really annoyed about it.
No, I get you. And it's like when you paint your house, you know it. Maybe nobody else will pick it up, but you know it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, most people wouldn't even notice it to glance at it, but like I know it's there, and it was like you guys said you could get it out, and then you didn't. So it's like, what are we doing here?
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Cool. All right, that's all I got. Tomorrow, Carter, I'm trying to get Ferg to come on the show on Tuesdays. He said he can start doing Tuesdays. And then me and Carter on Sunday nights with Ben. And that's it. So,
nice.
All right, everybody. We'll hang out with everybody later. I'll see everybody hopefully tomorrow. And then me and you, what's Monday? I'm gonna go look. That is, we'll probably do Monday, right?
I'm down. I'll be around.
I'll be around too. Yeah. Okay, Monday, Tuesday might be a little iffy because it's Christmas Eve. But yeah, for sure. We'll do a holiday thing for Monday, and then Carter's dropping his toy video on Christmas too, I think. So
nice.
Good stuff. So, all right, everybody. We'll check everybody later. We appreciate it. We'll talk to everybody later.